evening. I'd like to start the Plymouth City Board of Education regular meeting for May 10, 2021 at 5:30. Roll call, please.
Mr. Beckley?
Here.
Mrs. Grandison?
Here.
Mrs. Sproul? Here. Mr. Miles?
Here.
And Mr. Trimmer?
Here. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, as we've had the virus, it's good to see people in our midst for the board meetings now. Keep in mind that you do have, if you want to be on the agenda, you do have to notify the superintendent's office within a week of the meeting, so your name can get on the list to participate or just come to the board meeting. Again, this board welcomes public participation. There's been a lot of social media going on out there and I'm not on Facebook, but it does eventually comes back to me. I just want to say one thing. I'm on my last year of my term. Michelle's on her last year. Mrs. Grandison is fulfilling Colin Fawcett's last year. Just want to remind people that this board is made up of 5 people. No matter who wins, who gets on this board, if you have major agendas coming to this school district, you're only one person sitting on this board. It takes 5 to act on it. Okay? And I know the board always gets the complaints that it's been a bad board, the board's done this, but I tell you what, I have broad shoulders, and I feel that this board has had to deal with things that a board should have never, ever in the life of a Board of Education had to deal with. That's all in the past. We're moving this district on, and I just wish that if people gets on Facebook and bad-mouthing the board, my phone number is listed. Please call so we can sit down and straighten this out instead of putting our district on Facebook that it doesn't need to. We've tried to be positive. We are positive. We're heading in the right direction. And with our leadership, it's been a super time. Also, the board has had different things that we have shared with during the virus. We've been on the Zoom discussing what a boardsmanship is. And that's a boardsmanship 101. And some of you probably already heard this, but I think after today, what I saw on social media, I think it's important that I enlighten this group, and I hope that everybody pays attention to it. And it's the board's role and purpose. The role and function of a Board of Education are often misinterpreted by the public, and in some instances by board members themselves. The board's primary function is policy making. A board should have a clear notice of policies to do the job it was elected to do. After the policies have been adopted, the administrative procedures and establishment, the board should depend on the superintendent and the treasurer. Those are the 2 people that we evaluate every year. The board has to evaluate the super and the treasurer, okay? The board, and this is very important what I'm going to read next, and I hope people pay attention to this. Boards are not administrators and usually are not educators, professionals, or evaluators of staff, with the exception of the superintendent and the treasurer. So this is very important that we understand. I know we get calls and we try to lead the parents to the right place, but as a board member, you're only one person and you cannot make any decisions unless you're sitting around this table and the other four agrees with that decision, okay? So there's a lot of misunderstanding out there that board members can fire this person, hire this person. That is not true, okay? The only time we can hire or fire is when we go through the proper procedures, okay? The board also has a code of conduct that they go through, and we also have a code of ethics, and I'm going to share this with you. And again, I hope there's people watching this that will understand a little bit of the function of this board. The code of ethics, a guide for school board members. While serving as a member of my board of education, I will accept the responsibilities to improve public education to the end, and I will remember that my first and greatest concern must be the educational welfare of all students attending the public schools. Obey the laws of Ohio and the United States. Respect the confidentiality of privileged information. Recognize that an individual board member, I have no authority to speak or act for the board. Work with other members to establish effective board policy. Delegate authority for the administration of the schools to the superintendent and staff. Encourage ongoing communication among board members, students, and staff in the community. Render all decisions based on the availability, facts, and my independent judgment, rather than scrambling to the influence of individuals or spatial interest groups. Make every effort to attend all board meetings. Become informed concerning the issues to be considered at each meeting. Improve my boardsmanship by studying education issues and by participating in the in-service programs. Support the employment of staff members based on qualifications and not as a result of influence. Avoid conflicts of interest or the parent thereof. Refrain from using my board position for benefit of myself, family members, or business associations. Express my opinion, but once the board has acted, accept the will of the majority. That is the code of conduct of boardsmanship of the boards. And with that, I'm going to end my presentation on boardsmanship. We will carry on at our next board meeting. One of the other board members will present. So we're going to move into the administrative report. Okay, Buckeye Career.
Morning. Update from May board Buckeye report. We had 21 Buckeye students receive the Buckeye Foundation Scholarship. 3 of them were Claymont students. Rihanna Grant, electrical systems and utility line worker. Connor Harlan, exercise science, and Samantha Mann, culinary arts and meat cutting. So congratulations to those 3 Claymont students. The final preparations for the awards ceremony are held on May 18th, 19th, and 20th. We're doing 2 separate ceremonies each night for the career technical programs at the PAC. The last day of in-person learning for seniors is Friday, May 14th. The Buckeye House is officially listed on Barnett Realtors and is up for public auction on June 15th. On Friday, Buckeye honored 21 inductees into the Buckeye Career Center chapter of National Technical Honor Society. with 30 new first-year members and 3 returning members. For first years from Claymont are Michaela Contrell, Cosmetology, I apologize if I didn't pronounce that correctly. Brian Doan, Electrical Systems Technology, David Johnson, Computer Technology, Gabriella Keller, Intro into Nursing, Olivia Swigert, Graphic Arts, Ethan Myers, Construction Technology, and we have 2 second-year inductees, Connor Harlan for Exercise Science and Paige Hicks for Exercise Science. So congratulations to those students.
I want to add, last Wednesday, we had that senior recognition. Rihanna Grant, last year, part of her bio, went through an extra lab so she could have 2 labs to finish this year, and is actually working full-time right now as a fiber optics linesman. And her goal is one day to become a business owner in fiber optics. And Connor Harlan, he is going to Kent State main campus, and he wants to become an integrated science teacher. Hopefully one day coming back to our area to teach. And Samantha Mann is in culinary arts and meat cutting. Her goal is to run some restaurants, and her first endeavor is to open up the Trenton Avenue root beer stand that has been under construction for a while. So that's what she's pursuing to
I
do.
wonder who was doing that on there.
Okay, any questions for Michelle? Okay, if not, we'll go to the principals and administrative reports. Tracy, I'm going to start with you and Andrea this time. I think you guys
Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot this time. We're just getting ready for end of the year things. I think one of our bigger things we do at the end of the year, with the Play Olympics, we do a cookout on that day for the kids and staff, and we're doing some field trip lunches and stuff for most of the elementary schools, so wrapping the year up.
Thank you.
The bus routes are tentative right now. I did give copies to the drivers to look over. I'll be talking to Eric about things and see what we can finish up with those. I think they look pretty good myself, but we'll see. Bus physicals for the 21-22 school year are Wednesday the 12th here at Central Office. Union Hospital work well. They come on site and we'll have those done on Wednesday. The drivers will clean their buses, and I'll try and do the inspections on June 1st. I did want to say, I wanted to thank the district for the opportunity to work here the past 26 years as a bus aide, bus driver, cook, and then a supervisor. I'm retiring knowing that I've done the best I could, made some positive changes, and feel there's always room for continued improvement to benefit the district. I want to wish Eric Henry a lot of luck and success filling my position. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Tracy, thank you for the service. Thank you again for your service to this district, and it's been outstanding. So,
She doesn't get away so fast, because she did say she's going to come back and substitute bus drive for us.
For 1 year.
You didn't tell me that.
She told you that.
and you didn't tell me that either, because I asked you. Yeah, you didn't come back and do that.
Just till it expires in July.
Okay. Okay, Amy.
Good evening, everyone. Last week, we had our National Honor Society induction, where we inducted 23 new members, and we added them to our 19 members that we already had. Next week, we'll have senior recognition on May 13th at 6:30. On that night, students will get awards, and also the Claymont Foundation will be there to give out their scholarship awards, since they won't be having their normal banquet this year. We'd like to thank Mrs. Carrie Kunkel and the Claymont Student Council for planning a whole week of fun activities for teachers during Appreciation Week last week. And also a special thanks to our OPSI staff who planned and prepared a delicious luncheon for our teachers. So it was really nice, and all the teachers really appreciated it. And I just wanted to mention that right now we're scheduling students for their classes next year. Today we got to go to the 8th grade and meet all of our 8th grade students and help them learn a little bit about schedules for next year. And just wanted to remind everybody that we have and agriculture, business, and manufacturing career type pathways that are really thriving at the high school. We also have College Credit Plus courses that we're offering in the school through Stark State and Akron, and our students in fall semester alone earn 112 college credits through Stark State and 55 college credits through the University of Akron. So we're really proud of the kids who took the risk to do that. And just one more scheduling note, next year we're adding American Sign Language to our curriculum, and it will count for elective and world language credit.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions for Amy? Okay. Beth, you're back here in the corner.
I had sent in a report earlier, but I'll highlight a couple of things. First, we want to congratulate Mr. Jim Howell, our fifth grade music teacher. He wrote a $250 grant to AEP and received it. And he's purchased an amplifier to be used with his fifth grade music program that he's developed this year. Also, the fourth grade this Friday is planning a historic walking field trip throughout the, pretty much Denison. I think there's got a plan to go to Eurexville a little bit. And they do a scavenger hunt with that. They give them a list of the things they want them to find, and they have to look for it. And it's all historic stuff, and some of it's, of course, in our very own building, so they get lost on that right away, because they can't believe that it's there. And we also want to say a special thank you to Andrea. She's working really hard with our cooks to plan our Grill Kings. Mr. Gates and Mr. Miller grill hot dogs for us every year down at the park for our last day picnic, and she always makes sure that we have everything we need for that. So thanks so much, Andrea. So the rest of it's in the report.
Okay, thank you.
Oh,
Mr. Side.
I'm sorry. I do have one thing. For those of you who did not know, word was received today that Kelly Cook, her husband, did pass away this morning. So as you are thinking this evening, I'm sure they would appreciate your thoughts and prayers. Her son is a junior. Sophomore, sophomore, and I'm not sure, the daughter, freshman or eighth grader? Freshman. So he passed away. It was rather, he'd been sick for a little bit, but I'm sure the family would appreciate your prayers and thoughts.
Thank you, Beth, and we send all of our sympathy to Kelly, and I'm sure we'll be in touch with her. So, Mr. Stein.
Just looking back to the past month, we finished up kindergarten screening, so that's all complete. Our new kindergartners will be coming in, at the beginning of next year. Our preschoolers visited. I think they had a pretty good visit. They were over. It's always an eye-opener when the preschool kids get to come over, so it was good. It's always entertaining, we'll say that. So that's a good time. We'll be finishing up map testing here this week and the next week. Finish up our map, get done with all of that, see where our students' growth has been. A couple other things. 26th, 27th, primary will be moving classrooms, so the preschool will be coming in, so we'll be getting out the 25th. As you guys know, 26th, 27th, preschool teachers will be coming over, and primary will be moving their classrooms to their new rooms. And I do just want to give a big kudos to the primary staff. The last couple of years have been pretty long with COVID. If you've ever tried to teach a 5, 6, or 7-year-old on Zoom, it's been pretty interesting, but they have done a tremendous job, when we got the kids back in person. They've done a great job with that. And the last week was Teacher Appreciation Week, and I don't think we tell them enough. I know my staff, I try to tell them all the time that you guys have done an awesome job. So the primary staff has done an awesome job with these kids. They are ready. They're ready to move forward. Just like I know that we're losing time with the COVID stuff, but the staff did a great job trying to keep them moving forward. So thanks to the primary staff.
Thank you.
Thank you for reminding that. On the kindergarten incoming, Jacob Baldwin's classes has been making and the Mustang Pride Group's going to pick up the cost. Right?
Right. Well, you need to tell me what that is first.
Jacob's Jacob, Mr. Baldwin's class is making the signs, and he's keeping the cost down to a minimum because he can do it with themselves, with the kids. I will say this, the designs are all from his students. So that's the special thing about it. So, wasn't it right, Mr. Baldwin, they had to do some math, whether it was gonna be 2034, 2035, but we figured out 2034 class. So our goal is to, once we have that list, to get those yard signs out into yards. It was pretty cool, the first screening when the sign was out there, and social media was working for a positive in this light. The one little boy with his arm up ready for kindergarten. That was picture perfect. So it was great. But I want to, reminded me, I want to share that on that, and so thank you, Mr. Seibert.
Mr. Watt?
Thank you. I'm just going to kind of branch off of what Eric said about teacher appreciation and seeing the preschoolers, or you should come to the middle school in May. Because it's about like dealing with preschoolers sometimes, but we appreciate all of our teachers and all that they do on a daily basis. Last week, or it seems like it was yesterday, but it was probably last week, we met with our state support team to talk about how we're implementing PBIS. And we have a PBIS team. It's really, Mrs. Henry leads that team. Mrs. Henry, Susan Monticelli, Lisa Maxwell, Stephanie Crone, and Nan Cox, Nan Kuhn. And we have to show them how we are implementing, because it's law, PBIS, positive behaviors. And we didn't apply for an award for PBIS, but they said we should have, because if we would have gotten that award. So we're going to put that on our list of things to do next year because of all the things that we have going on at the middle school for PBIS. So a lot of thanks goes out to Mrs. Henry because she spearheads that team. And then Lisa Maxwell, Susan Monticelli, Stephanie Crone, and Dan Kuhn really take control of that at the middle school. So that was a positive for our building. We have National Junior Honor Society inductions coming up too, May 26th. We don't know the number yet, right? We don't know the number yet. Mr. Kozart is the leader of that with Mrs. Peters. We're still going through the application process right now. We finished up testing. We started map testing today to start planning for next year to see growth. We have a program that is finishing up this week at the middle school. It's called Catch My Breath. It's through the Tuscarawas County Anti-Drug Coalition, Jody Salvo. It's a 4-week program. They come in 2 days a week, Wednesday and Thursday. We know we have a vaping problem, not just at Claymont, but in the entire county. So we were looking for things that we could do. I am actually on a vaping task force for Tuscarawas County, and this is one of the things that we talked about. We are actually the first school to host this Catch My Breath program, and it's just education about the prevention of vaping in youth. And it's going really good right now. As I said, we knew we had a need to educate our kids, and it's been positive so far. One of the things that we're doing for the anti-vaping is we have an alternative suspension program. Instead of just, back in the day if kids had snuff, cigarette, we just booted them outside of school. But now what we try to do is we try to keep them in school to learn a little bit about that and the dangers of it. So we have an alternative to suspension. If they would get caught with something like that, they spend the morning actually in the office doing an anti-vaping or whatever it may be, smokeless tobacco program, and then we send it back to class. So we're trying to nip some of those issues that we have. So we're really happy and thankful for Jody Salvo to get that into our building. As Ms. Kahn said, we were scheduled with the 8th graders today. That went really well. We have our transition day next week where we're going to be getting the 5th graders and the 8th graders are going to be going to the high school. And then I'd just like to recognize a couple students. First of all, we have the Ray Kroc Award, if you've ever heard of that. McDonald's, Tuscarawas, and surrounding counties recognize an 8th grader and a senior every year. And Micaiah Maple was our winner this year. They have students are nominated and then they have to submit an essay to kind of show all the things that they do. Not just grades, but extracurriculars, things outside of school. And Micaiah was selected. She's an awesome student, obviously, why she was selected. And then Lucas Gladstone is going to 8th grader. He's going to represent Claymont Middle School at the state track meet. Right now, he is currently 11th in the state of Ohio in the 400-meter dash, and he is going to represent our school at the middle school state track meet.
Good. Thank you. Jody?
I submitted my report to you. There's a lot of things going on right now at central office, in my office. Usually in some of the buildings, things are winding down. This is where my job gets quite busy with preparing things for next year. So I'm just going to highlight some of the things that are on my 3-page report. The first one is just OTES 2.0. The JEDC committee wrapped up their language of the evaluation. And just wanted to highlight some of the changes for you for OTES 1.0 to OTES 2.0. There's a requirement now to track your progress on a professional growth plan. High-quality student data needs to be embedded in the evaluation. No student growth measure is assigned. There's no more teacher categories of A, A1, B, and C. There's no calculation in a final rating. It is a holistic rating. And then we are implementing the full Ohio ES usage next year. I'm going to try it for 1 year. That is where all of the documentation is in a digital platform instead of a shuffling papers back and forth. So we're hoping that that works really well with our teachers, and everything is kind of held in that platform so they don't have to go back and try to find the document. That's a hard copy. It's all embedded in the system. So I want to thank, we have several JEDC members here. So, I mean, it was a difficult process just because of the nature of evaluations with staff. So we have 5 admin and 5 teachers that came together, and I think we spent 40+ hours getting the evaluation language right. And I think we came out with a product that the admin was pleased with, as well as the JEDC membership, so for the teachers on that committee. So thank you for your participation. Right now we're working on writing a 21st century grant. We're actually doing 2. Mrs. Kahn and Mr. Watkins and myself have been meeting with a lady, a consultant from ESC that's actually doing the physical writing of the middle school, high school grant. And we're providing her the information to put into that. I personally am writing the grant for the K-5, so we're putting 2 grants up at the end of this month. Hopefully we'll be awarded both. There is a priority this year on high school grants, so we may not get the elementary, but we're still crossing our fingers. We're going to send those as well. It is a 5-year grant. The first year you get $200,000 to implement the program. The first 2 years. The next 2 years you get $150,000 to implement the program, and the last year you get $100,000 to implement the program, assuming that a lot of the upfront cost is buying the materials that you need for the grant. So, DLT is on there. Just a reminder, we have 1 more meeting, and I just wanted to give a shout out to the district as a whole. Mrs. Kahn and myself were interviewed from the OLI, OLAC called us and asked us to be interviewed about our processes with Ohio Improvement, the TBTs, the DLT structure, because it sounds like because of COVID, a lot of districts have kind of put that on the side burner. And I give credit to our buildings here for seeing the importance of keeping track of our students' achievement and their progress, and seeing what our needs are and trying to fill those gaps, because some districts, not that they didn't find it was valuable, but there was a priority dealing with COVID, and our teachers found this to be very important. And all of our buildings have tons of data for me to upload for a better program review, to show all of the TBT meetings they've had, their BLT meetings, so there's a lot of evidence that a lot of good things are happening in the district. Preschool enrollment. We are currently accepting applications for preschool. There are 23 preschoolers enrolled that are over income for next year, 10 preschoolers that are enrolled that are recognized as a student with disabilities, and 25 preschoolers enrolled in our ECE program, that is our low income, that aren't on an IEP. This year we were awarded 15 extra slots, 10 extra ECE slots because other buildings, other districts weren't using them. And so we have 15 ECE positions still available and potentially 10 slots for students with disabilities. So if you know anybody that needs childcare or preschool services next year, have them contact Tammy McMillan. Give you some information about the Forward Edge report. We've overall had 1,963 points in our Forward Edge program. That was a technology integration platform, which is individualized for our staff. And I gave you the top 10 people. So if you recognize the names, there were several teachers, but there was also several classified staff members, aides that are on here that are in the top 10. So I give them kudos for that. Next year, with the Professional Development Committee has set a 10-point requirement for this Forward Edge program. Skipping over to the federal program review, there's not a lot of information in this report or paragraph, but Kim and I are uploading a lot of information to ODE through our monitoring system. This is our federal program review of all of our funds that we receive from Title I, Title II, Title III, Title IV, Title V, IDEA, the preschool, the school-wide improvement grants. We have to upload fiscal records, we have to upload other evidence like TPT and BLT records, and proof that what we said we were doing and the strategies we're using, we're actually doing with the federal dollars that we're getting. So we have a lot to do. I've been spending a lot of time on that, but that's been taking a lot of April and probably into the next 2 weeks of May. I gave you a list of what the 2021-2022 professional development will be looking like, and that came from our professional development committee. Just a summary, Leader in Me initiative, that's a 3-year implementation, so we'll be in year 2 with that. And a lot of the rest of the time will be on curriculum alignment, curriculum calibration, and making sure that our standards are aligned to our curriculum that we purchased are aligned to our standards and what we're actually teaching within our classrooms. So, and there's other information on here, but those are the highlights. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you. Mrs. Smith?
Yes, I gave you a report, I think, a little bit early, so I'll just add maybe a couple things that have happened since then to highlight. As far as in the technology area, received notification this past week from E-Rate that we were approved for the wiring and stuff for the field house. So that pays for 80% of the cost, which is around $22,000 that we'll receive. And that allows us then to do the wiring for phones, security cameras, the Wi-Fi, and stuff in that area. So we'll have to pay $8,000 and we receive the other $22,000. So that was good. And that will be done starting in June. And then also have been working through Bell Everett at Uricksville and working with their engineering company. They've been asking for a lot of information about the drainage and all the things we're doing with the football field, so we can get approval for going forward with that. So that's an ongoing process. Seems like, we feel like it's kind of like an audit. You provide everything that they ask for, and then they look at that, and then they ask for some more things. So, but we're moving forward on that. So, the only other thing I would say is that I had pointed out with that high school lighting project, I mean, literally it took all year to convert the high school. I mean, you can't imagine how many lights are in that building. And if you can imagine just standing all day with your arms above your head up, and doing, work above your head all day long, that's what they were doing in converting and doing all this wiring. So, I had mentioned Dan Cassine and Troy Sproul and other people that have been working not just the high school, but really through the whole district, and doing that for many years. So, and I do think that, we are seeing savings because of that in all of our buildings with our electric bills. So I think that's a win-win. So, any other questions that you have for me?
Did Bell give you a date yet when we're going to meet?
She said we didn't need to meet, that they were just going to kind of work through the engineers at this point, just having the engineers providing all of the data that they're looking for to come up with the right solution, and then I will probably meet on the back end.
I know she called me and said that they were still working on that project. So.
Yeah, we keep, as soon as we get something, we've been, I know, we've got a short timeline here, we're trying to compress. So we're getting all of the information diversified. It's been very good about providing all the calculations, all of the things that they're asking for.
Okay.
So far, nothing, I mean, we're moving forward, so.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll follow up with the mayor.
Yeah.
too.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mrs. O'Connor?
So I have to do a little bit different tonight. I have to present on IDEA funds. So I'm going to pull that up real quick. I gave you all a quick summary on that. And so I have to, every year, as a special services director, I have to hold a public hearing to provide opportunities. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh,
Walking your presentation.
I apologize. I'm sorry. So, and hold an annual, just a public meeting concerning IDEA funds. So, if you look down through here, our IDEA funds for 2021 were, we were given $479,464.22 with a carryover of $38,757.83 to equal total funds of $518,222.05. The amount budgeted for special education staff, we hired 5 intervention specialists with that and 3 paraprofessionals. So salaries equal $320,000 with fringe benefits equaling $165,284.70. Supplies out of that were $11,757.83. The district spends in excess of $3.6 million on special education services every year. So, our IDA funds are just a small portion of what we spend every year on special ed. So some of the purchases and the services and a lot of supplies were Mustang transportation, valid behavioral, we also doing curriculum and training. If teachers call, we try to supply anything that we may need from just seating, special seating for students, or sometimes standards, or just anything that maybe our students may need. So Kim can tell you stuff comes through a lot lately, sir. So special education supports of personnel. Currently, we have 317 students identified as having a disability. This fluctuates pretty regularly. As we move through the district, kids move in, move out, but that's where we've been consistently. The percentage of students identified is 19.62% of our student population. So we employ 24 intervention specialists. We have 1.5 school psychologists. 0.5 is contracted through the ESD, and 1 we have in-house. We have 3 speech and language pathologists. We have 1 occupational therapist contracted through the ESC. We have an occupational therapist assistant that is contracted, that is through us. We have a physical therapist and a physical therapist assistant, both contracted through the ESC. And we have right now 36 paraprofessionals to include classroom aides, in-school suspension aides, bus aides, and library aides. Those are my comments. Any questions, concerns?
Just to put it out there, like comparison districts, what percent would you say?
It just depends on the district. I mean, the
Just
state
take one.
average,
That compared to the R 19.62%.
about 12%, between 10 and 12%. I would say state average is around that area.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Conlon.
Thank you.
All right, business advisory.
Last week, Business Advisory Council met. We are part of a consortium through the Educational Service Center. Some of the things that they're trying to highlight and that they want to continue to work on for next year was surveying the members on job skills. They felt the members of the group, because of, COVID's been the downfall of a lot of things in the year, but they felt that what kind of employees are they wanting, and they weren't filling out these surveys enough, so that's something they want to work on. They're working on some middle school job shadowing. They tried to do it virtual, and this was in the Guernsey County area, but that didn't really work out too well, doing a virtual job shadowing. Kent State University branch has a program called the Rising Scholars, and they try to take a 6th grader who is interested in going into like an engineering science program at KSU. and they have a mentor who's a college student, mentor that 6th grader to try to steer them through, or into those programs. And naturally, due to COVID, they were restricted, and they said that their program for next year will be in person, and they'll be looking to have students come back and to hopefully get that going again for us next year. They are trying for a grant for Tuscarawas County for a career navigator. As you know, we didn't get the remote edX grant. That would have given us a career navigator to help bridge some of these gaps for school to employment. We do have a great plan, I think, if we get the 21st century, even if we don't get it. We have been in conversations with Novellis about having our kids go over and take field trips with them and visit Project Lead the Way kids, visit their engineers in the 4th, 5th grade and 8th grade. But the pathway students that are at the high school, working with them, and if it's in the 21st century, then there's after-school opportunities where they can go. I think Mr. Baldwin and his students put together a great proposal for Novellis to pay the remaining piece of the field that we have. And so we're still trying to obtain that, even though the sign is a little bit obscured. We are closer to our goal than we are based off that sign. But they're very happy that his group will be able to come over and do safety videos for him. And last thing on this one is that they're doing a Business Advisory Council recognition for next year. So they're working on a date for that. Last couple items is you have your attendance or enrollment figures, and you can highlight those on your own. And the last thing, and I want to thank Patty Rohr, that she put out the staff appreciation for last week. We started talking about that in July and what we can do. We've already started talking about what we can do for next year. Something to try to help make it special. I think as a person told me the other day, he said, can't go wrong with pizza. Well, we're trying to mix it up a little bit, but we are, as staff, we do appreciate every one of you. It's at times our years are very difficult. At times our days are very difficult. Sometimes our minutes are very difficult. So we do appreciate what you guys have accomplished, and I think The email that I tried to express that last week may not have done kudos to that, but Patty and I are working on trying to make it something special, but within budget. I'll say that, but something beyond maybe pizza and salad. The salad was an extra this year, I think, wasn't it? So I just want to thank you guys for that. I already talked a little bit about the sign at the stadium. We are still accepting donations for that project. The Eagles for Denison have given us $1,000. Gate cost $150, and Alexandria and Douglas Edwards have given us $50 for that, which we really appreciate. So again, that phase, we want to try to get that out of raising money through private funds. So we're on a timeline as far as potentially going forward, not going forward. But a local community member put that thermometer up to maybe entice some people. So hopefully a little, as Mrs. Grandison said the last time, $10, $15, $5, everything helps get us toward our goal. So we're getting closer. And if you want to touch on the next one.
Sure. I just want to give kudos. I mentioned it, I think, last month or 2 months ago about our audit came back clean this year. And I received in the mail, we got Auditor of State Award for our, this award is presented for excellence in financial reporting in accordance with general accepted accounting principles and compliance with applicable laws. So kudos to my staff for all they do and for working hard.
Okay. Before we go into the budget specification, I would just like to thank all of our administrators, all of our staff, teachers, all of our OT people for an outstanding job that they have done over this virus deal that we've had. It's been hectic for you guys, it's been hectic for our teachers, our aides, it's been hectic for everyone. So kudos to every one of you, and administrators, pass that on to your staff. We do appreciate each and every one of you people. And if it wouldn't have been for you guys working hard, we probably wouldn't be back into school right now 5 days. So again, thank you very much on behalf of myself and the board. We're going to go into the public participation. The Board of Education welcomes this. It's been a long time coming because of the virus and so forth. But there is some regulations that you have to abide by. And a district resident who wishes to address the board is encouraged to inform the superintendent at least 1 week prior to the regular schedule or adjourn meetings of the board. Provide both name, specified items to be presented to the board. The superintendent will have the resident's name placed on the agenda. A sign-in sheet is available at the door of every board meeting. Anyone wishing to be recognized shall make himself or herself known by completing and submitting a registration sheet to the board president prior to the start of the meeting. And as of tonight, there was no sheets presented to the board president. No presentation shall exceed 5 minutes. If multiple speakers indicate a desire to speak on the same issue, the presiding officer shall relate to the board and desire that the speakers designate 2 people to speak. The board asks the audience to refrain from responding to the speaker's comments, including cheering, applauding, so the board members can focus their attention entirely on the speaker. Although the board may ask clarifying questions, please be reminded that the board cannot respond directly to any comment made this evening. At this time, I'd like to present to the group Holly Lloyd. She's going to speak, and I don't know what all of her details are, but it's a year in reflection. Welcome.
Thank you. A year in reflection. Thank you for this opportunity to address the board this evening. I'm Holly Lloyd, president of the Claymont Education Association, which represents 137 teachers and members in the district. Over the last year, our members have been nothing short of heroic in their efforts to continue providing the quality education our students deserve. We pivoted on a dime to remote learning last spring. We spent the summer preparing for all possibilities in the fall, training, collaborating, and problem solving to ensure our kids would have the best instruction possible, no matter how that had to be delivered, in person or remotely. We were certainly throwing some curveballs. Regrettably, much of the COVID response in the district has been reactive rather than proactive, and often made without the input of educators who are on the front lines of COVID. Many times the association had no choice but to grieve the district's decisions to make certain we were listened to, and that procedures were defined and clarified to ensure the health and safety of our students and staff. Teachers are renowned for being flexible, but this year required unprecedented levels of flexibility and resourcefulness. A lack of clear communication left Claymont teachers doing gymnastic contortions to follow the policies that seemed to change weekly and often out of compliance with the board's own posted policies. In the background of all of this, we have had to do more with less because of the shrinking staff, leading to larger class sizes as a result of 14 layoffs this year and 7 more positions being eliminated due to layoffs and retirements this coming year. The upcoming staff reductions are especially unnecessary this year, given that the district is receiving $7 million in ESSR funds. The district will also be receiving additional money from the American Rescue Plan to address learning loss and to reduce class size and layoffs to support students. Let's pause there. The money is expressly to reduce class size and layups, and yet, on tonight's board agenda, there are recommendations to enact more reductions for the 21-22 school year. This is not the time to reduce Claymont staff. Additionally, that money is supposed to be distributed in collaboration with the association. Unfortunately, it has been a struggle to get our voices at the decision-making table. We want nothing more than to work together with the administration to bring our children the best educational experience possible, yet we are ignored. This undermines morale during what is already an impossible situation with COVID this year. Just as much as the realization that administration values a sports complex more than the human beings who have been giving every last ounce of themselves to take care of Claymont kids. A lack of collaborative leadership is also playing out with the ongoing contract negotiations. This is my 6th time bargaining over a 15-year period, and I've never seen talks drag on this long with so little effort to reach an agreement. The association team thus far has put in a total of 171 hours, and 96 of those hours has been in joint meetings with the board's team since June of 2020. Our teachers have been working on an expired contract for almost a year now. A new contract is needed to ensure safe working conditions and professional rights to contribute to our school community. Our students deserve to be in a district that can attract and attain the best educators. The only person who benefits from this destructive cycle is the board's lawyer, who just continues to build the district and its taxpayers. Despite this exhaustive process, I would like to personally thank all of our CEA, OEA, and OPC members who have stepped up to support our team with a true family effort of unity and solidarity. Our dedication has not wavered throughout the school year. Our commitment to our students is as strong as ever. The Mustang Pride Committee was formed, consisting of administrators, staff, and community members in an effort to bring unity to Claymont and to celebrate the best of our Mustangs. These types of collaborations are the future of Claymont. As I reflect on the last year, I could not be prouder of my colleagues and everything they have overcome to give our kids everything they need. These men and women are superheroes, and they should be applauded, but they are too humble to ever ask or expect applause. Rather, they simply want basic respect, a collaborative work environment, and a fair contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Polly. Yeah, we're going to go into an executive session. I'm going to make that motion. Do we have a second? Okay. Roll call, please. We're going in for number 2, employment, letter B, letter D, and letter E, and there may be action to be taken. Roll call.
Mr. Beckley?
Yes.
Mrs. Grant? Mrs. Kroll?
Yes.
Mrs. Granderson?
Yes.
Mr. Miles?
Yes.
And Mr. Trim?
Yeah. 6.4.
Officer retreat for June 5th at Carrollton KOA Campgrounds.
I'll move.
Do we have a second? Mr. Mills? Okay. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Sproul?
Yes.
Mr. Miles?
Yes.
Mr. Beckley?
Yes.
Mrs. Grandison?
Yes.
And Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Any items to be pulled or separated?
We are going to postpone item number O, or letter O, enter into an agreement with the Port Authority. We're going to look at exploring other options for the park school.
Okay. Are there any other?
Do we need to move? Motion and second.
Okay. Need a motion to pull letter O.
I'll move to postpone.
Okay. Do we have a second? Roll call.
Mrs. Sproul?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yeah.
Mr. Beckley?
Yes.
Mrs. Grandison?
Yes.
And Mr. Miles?
Yes.
Okay, we'll move down to the treasurer's report, please.
Okay, this is my meeting to do my second forecast for the year. And I know it's small, but I'll just try to get through it. So this first slide will show our revenues for this year, and I was happy to see that actually our property taxes came in a little bit higher than what I anticipated from our November. So, and then when we're looking at our, okay, I'll just get started. Property taxes, tangible personal property taxes, and the property taxes down here. And then the other restricted and unrestricted is what comes in through the state through our foundation. Other revenues could be donations, any teacher stipends from like Kent State if the teacher goes to there, those type of things go into other revenue. There is another line item that comes below this one. I didn't put a slide for it, but it's other financing revenues, and we got like $311,000 in that this year, which we didn't expect, but that was refunds of prior year expenses, which our biggest one was all the refunds we got from BWC this year, because they gave us back basically two years worth or so of premiums that we had paid. This chart just kind of shows our state foundation. We're coming back from our drop from 2 years ago. We had lost like $240,000. This year we got $131,000 back from that loss, and then the other $108,000 we should see back into our foundation starting next year. So we're kind of back at least where we were a couple of years ago. So the foundation is 71.9% of all of our revenue that comes in. And like I talked about, the effects of the COVID, lost 240, got back 131. We are waiting for the biannual budget. It will get set next month. As of right now, we have no idea really, because there was a state the fair share school planning funding plan was passed by the House. It's hung up in the Senate. So they're kind of trying to revamp that now. So, which we don't know what that's going to do to our student wellness and success funding, because the House version, it was supposed to be included in our foundation payments, but now that if that's not even going to get through, what are they going to do with it for our biannual budget?
Under the new, this is out of the House School Board newsletter that came today, but it said, under this House Bill 110, it said that establishing the formula, the House discarded the Governor DeWine's Hallmark Education Initiative, Student Wellness and the Success Fund, which consists of $1.1 billion for 2 years spending over consecutive year proposals. But anything that they're asking for is over a 3-year period to phase this in. So There are districts under the new funding formula that will lose money, and there are 96 districts appear to lose fund money over the 6-year phase-in period. So some of them are just right off the top of from the get-go. What we've seen so far has been flatlined to what we currently receive. Is what the current projections have been flatlined. So there's no increases as far as what we've
Right,
seen.
and so what I've done through the forecast is stayed stagnant with our student wellness money, because they had said that he had hoped to see that stay in it. So the $940,000 that we got this year is what I'm still hoping to get, and I kept it within the forecast. So I don't show it in my revenues. I take it off of our expenses, so you just don't see that expense in our salaries and benefits.
But we do pay salaries out.
But we do pay, yes, and all of our nurses, counselors, speech therapists, and psych. Yeah, who said that's good? So those get paid out of that student wellness money.
Can you explain to them what our total budget is? And then I'm sure you're probably going to get into salaries and fringe benefits.
Yeah, so my total operating budget for fiscal year 21, I'm projecting it to finish out at $22,710,000 as revenue. With expenses, hopefully, I've got it coming in under now. So as I proceed, I'll go into that a bit more. Open enrollment, it's always been, it's been a topic the last several years. So I included this before, so I've kept it in. The first line is our open and the positive, so students coming in. The other line is students going out. So as you see, fiscal year ended there. I wrote down some figures. Student FTE in for this year, 134.39, which is a funded FTE of 127.59. And a student FTE out was 312.26, and the funded FTE out was 298. So in dollars, that equated to it's $1,021,934 loss for the open enrollment this year.
And in the future, under those fair school funding plans, we're not having this net loss in that we won't be.
We just won't
We
get funding.
won't be getting the funding. Here, we're giving the money back because we received it. Now we just won't get it.
Right.
So they'll just look at our open enrollment and say, oh, you have 150 or 200 open enrolled out. You're not getting that money, and they're projecting.
It follows the student wherever they go.
And they're projecting that new funding formula at 7,000. I don't know, 7,000 up from about 6,500, $6,020 per formula up to $7,202.
And that's all based on our teacher to student ratio, right? Or our district numbers, correct?
That's just based on enrollment. So it's different.
Right. It's not on our the teacher-student ratio comes into effect if this new funding plan
Yes.
gets accepted through the legislation. We also take into account community schools and our College Credit Plus that comes out of our foundation. The top line is the money that we give out in the community school, and we had a decline, but so that's our digital schools. And then the bottom line is the CCP classes, which is great for our students, but it costs us money then too, so. And then when you hit the start at the expenditure part of the 5-year forecast, first two line items is personnel services and benefits. So wages this year should end up at 50.1% of our revenue, with benefits coming in at 25.1%. And So next year, I already have figured into step increases, but since we're in negotiations with both of our unions, that's all I could do right now. So I've got step increases in there, and then I've projected like a 3%, but we'd still have to look at it, like for teachers, if they have any educational moves in the salary schedule, we still will have to figure those out, and then any type of increase we may agree upon.
Tim, could you give me that percentage again for,
Wages is 50.1, and benefits is 25.1. So 75%. I have 140 people, teachers, counselors, speech pathologists, and nurses. We will have another reduction through attrition and a couple reduction in force to 131 for next year. Classified, I was showing like 95 for this year, and with the closure of the preschool, we'll lose a couple of them, so go down to 89. And then administrators, which include all principals and assistant principals and central office staff, were at 20. Health insurance, we did see an increase of 3.85% last year. I've gotten notification that they will be presenting to their board next month at the Stark County Call. They're requesting a 3.9% increase for next year. No increase for dental and vision, with 2 premium holidays, which seems to have been the norm the last couple of years. When we do talk about student and teacher ratios, down here, I know it's hard to see, but this year we ended up with, our ratio was, no, that's just totals. 1,700 students ending the year with 129 teachers. Next year, right now, I think the enrollment, I use this, 1,698 with 120 teachers, which would equate to, this year we are looking at a 13.2 student-to-teacher ratio. Next year, it will go to 14.2. So we're still.
And what's this, like a state average, is that what you try to base it off of?
We've been trying to look at it with how we would get funded if that new funding plan would go into effect. So it goes off of grade levels, but it's usually close, it's in the 20s. Purchase services is another line item on there. One of the biggest expenses there too. That's where the open enrollment out, the negative money from the foundation hits that purchase services. And then supplies and materials. Somebody called me a penny pusher the other day, so that's what I am. But we have been able to reduce some of our costs of supplies, especially, and then of course over the last 2 years, we've had the extra money to help pay for custodial supplies, and so a lot of that money helped us save through the general fund. So that has helped our bottom line. So this is the line that's really important, 6.01. So this year I'm hoping, with all the calculations I did, we're looking at just under 800,000 that I'm hoping to finish in the black this year. And that'll be the first time in several years. So the reductions that we have had, even though how hard it's been, it's helped. And we just got to keep in that direction to we want to balance the budget. We'd like this number to be 0 every year if we did it right. So next year, we go back though to an excess of 92,000, 482,000 the next year. We're down to 1.1 million, 1.8 million. So we just got to keep working. But
I mean, our one at one time was 5 million.
yes, we were out of money in like year 4 at one point. So we're on the right direction. When we talk about the government assistance that we have received, so we did at the end of last year, beginning of this year, we did get $110,000 of the coronavirus relief funds. With all of these government funds, there are stipulations, and you can only use them for certain reasons that they give you. So we have spent hours sitting there following the guidelines to know what we can spend money on. This one, personal protective equipment, public health, and distance learning was a big thing. So we bought masks, we bought nurse supplies, gloves. Seems like we bought gloves forever there for a while. Cleaning supplies, sanitizers, plexiglasses. We retrofitted most of our water fountains. We bought sinks for the preschool. We bought EMIS machines. We bought floor machines to help the custodians clean. We bought webcams, screencastifies, laptops for the speech and OT, and some Chromebooks. And then we have 3 different funds we're bringing in through the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund. First set was $505,000. We have to use it by September 30th of 2022. The second relief, we're getting a little over $2,016,000. And then this ESSER 3 that we, actually the application just opened. We have to figure out our assurances, get our assurances, and then set our budget. Just over $4.5 million. I did that wrong. 20%, not 90%. 20% of that has to be allocated to address learning loss. So that's almost $1 million right there that has to be spent on learning loss. And that money has to be used by September 30th, 2024. There are 15 allowable activities that you can use this for. Prevent, prepare, and respond to COVID. It has to meet those 3 criteria. So maintaining operations, we paid wages and benefits for staff when they were off on COVID leave. Distance learning, we've used this money to keep online learning platforms like IXL, Pearson Science and Reading. We bought our Ingenuity and Odyssey-ware for the online kids. We paid for that out of this. We're buying Chromebooks. All of those are Chromebooks for next year. We buy, what desktops did we buy this year?
Teacher desktops were
primary
pre-K through 3.
Pre-K through 3.
Yes.
Desktop
Teacher.
computers for teachers. Google licenses, Screencastify, addressing learning loss. We're paying for tutoring right now. We started that, what, March, and we're ending this week. We're paying for tutoring through there. And we are looking to replace all of our curriculum over the next 2 to 3 years because there's a digital aspect to every curriculum now that either ours has ran out, but these curriculums can cost anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000 for one subject. So unless we have this money, it could have been postponed again. So we're happy to have gotten. And then school facilities, it's another area that can be used now to prevent. And so we're doing boiler replacements at the 2 of them at the middle school, 1 at the intermediate and 1 at the elementary. That will help our air quality and the way our air moves in the schools. Roof replacements. There again, we've got roof issues like for intermediate that the rainwater's come in, it's soaked our insulation, so that's not good for air quality, so helps prevent and prepare. So funds cannot be used to pay salaries and benefits. Address that again. Cannot be used for salaries and benefits. Cannot. So we can use it to maintain operations, but our operations has got to align with what we're looking at down the road with school funding through foundation. Purchases will continue over the next 3 years, and the board is still reviewing and evaluating the options of how we're going to use and pay for all of the funds.
Okay.
So I have any
questions
comments,
for
questions?
Kim? Thank you, Kim. Okay, we will continue with the.
So I think your board packet was your normal monthly. The financial report for the month of April, the payment of bills as presented, the minutes of last month's board meeting. There was also a GMP amendment number 4 here to add the cost of concession and restroom building, my 5-year forecast and related assumptions. And then also, last month you had approved a frontline education, the ASOP substitution. I was able to go back to them and ask them for a 3-year, if we did a 3-year commitment, can we save any money? And they reduced the bill. So it was going to be like a 4.6% increase just over for 1 year. We got it, so it's only increased 3% each year. So I wanted to put that back.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I'll move.
Do we have a second? Any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Sproul,
Yes.
Mr. Miles,
Yes.
Mr. Beckley,
Yes.
Mrs. Grandison, and Mr. Trimmer.
Yes.
Motion carries. Move over to the superintendent's recommendation.
Motion and a second, and we'll try to explain some of these items as we go through. Administrative contract for Mary Jane Guerin for a 1-year contract for occupation therapy services. Kelsey Barnhart as assistant high school principal. So, welcome, Kelsey. Willie Milano, a 3-year administrative contract as assistant technology coordinator. And Michelle Henry, a 3-year administrative contract as assistant middle school principal. We have several contracts for teaching staff to act on. We have several 1-year, 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, and we do have 2 staff for continuing contracts. We need to go back in time to April 22nd for a limited contract for Teresa Donahoe. She's a cook. This is our first board meeting since she met her 90-day probationary period. Would like to congratulate as we accept the resignation of Betty Kavanaugh for retirement purposes. So I want to congratulate Betty and give her well wishes in retirement. That'll be effective June 30th. We do have a student teacher that we'll work with, Rebecca Stewart, for next year. We have several unpaid leave of absences. Miranda Wardell was the 20th to the 27th of April for medical leave. Kelly Powell, medical leave through August 1st. And Jordan Beebe for child care leave for next school year. On item G, Kim, I want to make sure you make us a note. Non-renew the temporary teaching contract for Robert Manchester for this school year. Jordan was on leave. Robert has been on a temporary teaching contract for that position. Approve the reduction of force for these individuals, Tom Wasecki, and I know April Nisley. You'll correct the spelling on that, please.
Yep.
Okay. Haley Putney and Joel Kunkel. I'd like to employ April Nisley on a temporary limited teacher contract. Also employ Robert Manchester. Robert will be back on the leave for filling in for Jordan Beebe. In April will be in a Title II tier, targeted Tier 1, Tier 2 teacher at the primary. And in my updates, that's due to disproportionality for over-identification of speech students at the preschool level. So hopefully we'll be able to work that as a 1-year only finding that we had from the state. With employee summer custodians of Jennifer Golick, Julie Galloway, and Lisa Wilson. Employ the summer tutors at $20 an hour for Denise Harmon and April Nisley, and they are going to tutor from June 14th through August 5th, and they're doing 2 days a week. And that will be at the elementary school. And at the high school, we have Jacob Baldwin, Travis Lawton, and Michelle McQuarrie Starkey, and that starts June 7th, and that goes through the 25th. 3-year service agreement for Chiller, that's $4,573. Be a member of the Ohio High School Athletic Association for next school year, and the fee is $50 per sport going in for next year. So we have 2 cross-country teams, boys and girls, 2 tennis teams, 2 golf teams, so it'll add up. So eventually, they said it won't exceed $100 per team, but there will be $50 per team starting for next year. Voluntary student accident insurance for the Student Protective Agency, that's out of Mount Vernon. Enter into contract with the Mott's Group for stadium upgrades and renovations. Approve the board policies for policy 2.05, evaluation of administrators. That was due to taking out student growth, and you're only evaluating administrators on their performance, not student growth. We've already updated the teachers before. 3.05, staff conduct, enforcement of licensure, code of professional conduct. In this code is the emphasis in this one. Kim might talk a little bit about procurement of federal funds. No? Okay. And basically, procurement of recent food service programs audits have brought to the attention of certain requirements. So that makes us up to certain requirements for that one. And the last one is emergency management plan. As of March 24th, House Bill 123 said grades 6 through 12 had to have a threat assessment completed, and that just gets us into compliance with that board policy. I attached a list of high school graduates pending their requirements. I'm not going to read the non-renewal of non-athletic supplementals as that goes on to the second page. Approve the athletic supplementals for 21-22 for the winter, and that's after evaluations were completed. Gary, Rich, Chad, Travis, and John for winter weightlifting. FFA overnight winter retreat, and we have 1 classified substitute that we'd like to add as a custodian. I know it's long, sorry.
Okay. Entertain a motion to accept the superintendent's report. I'll make that motion. Do we have a second? Mrs. Branson. Any questions? Roll call.
Mr. Beckley?
Yes.
Mrs. Grandison?
Yes.
Mrs. Sproul?
Yes.
Mr. Miles?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Motion carried.
I have some other additional items, and then we'll have to, the reason why they were previously pulled was because board members may have to abstain. W, approved a teaching contract, continuing teaching contract with Sarah Trimmer. So need a motion and second for that.
I'll move.
Do we have a second? Any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Sproul?
Yes.
Mr. Miles?
Yes.
Mr. Beckley?
Yes.
Mrs. Grandison?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Motion carried.
Approve the 3-year administrative contract for Shay Young. So welcome, Shay. As primary principal. So need a motion and second for that.
I'll make that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Beckley?
Yes.
Mr. Miles?
Yes.
Mrs. Grandison?
Yes.
Mrs. Sproul?
Abstain.
And Mr. Trimmer?
Motion carried.
We need 2 more. Employ the following individual as a summer tutor at $20 an hour, Melissa Young, from June 14th through August 5th.
Entertain a motion to Mr. Trimmer. Do we have a second? Mrs. Grandison. Roll call.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Mrs. Grandison?
Yes.
Mr. Beckley?
Yes.
Mrs. Kroll?
Abstain.
Mr. Miles?
Yes.
Motion carried.
And last one I have is employ Brian DeVall as head bowling coach for next school year.
Entertain a motion to accept Ron DeVault. I'll make that motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Where are we looking to relocate?
Pride Boulevard. It's either Boulevard or Kinzer. The Boulevards have been very accommodating, so we might try to get in there. Cy Young's open, potentially. That's our kids going clear to Newcomerstown, though.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Beckley?
Yes.
Mrs. Grandison?
Yes.
Mrs. Kroll?
Abstain.
Mr. Miles?
Yes.
And Mr. Beckley. Turner, sorry about that.
Yes. Motion carried. Any new business?
I do not have any. I do think that Mrs. Khan highlighted a few things as far as activities. And I know other elementary principals are having other activities going on too. But graduation is May 28th, 6 p.m. What time do you want us dressed and ready to go, Mrs. Khan?
Well, the guests arrive early. They'll start arriving at about 5, but I would say, 5:30 would be good.
Okay, so Mr. Watkins is going to shuttle us there if we need to. Okay.
Any other business?
I do not have any.
Austin?
Yes.
I would like to address some of the issues that were brought up.
Okay.
And first of all, I appreciate Mrs. Lloyd speaking on the behalf of the teachers here. I'm new to this, so bear with me. But I wrote down some interesting facts that you expressed here. But one of the things is that I'd like to address is the lack of communication. I think you were expressing, is it from the administration to the teachers, negotiation, but you guys have spent, I think, 171 hours and 96 of them are jointly together. So what I'm concerned about is the teachers that aren't on the committee, are they being given what you've already agreed on? Are they getting an up-to-date contract? And I've never been in a union, so I don't know how that works, but I do know other people I've talked to, like if you go to the committee meeting and you got 12 agendas and 2, 3, 4s and saying, okay, so then I go back to my team and I say, okay, they agreed on 2, 3, or is the teachers given that updated copy of the contract?
Yes.
Or is, okay.
Yes, we have bargaining updates, and we also have COG updates. That's our Claymont organizing team. In those we address, we don't get into specifics that haven't been TA'd yet, because that's not, I know, I was talking to Mr. Wrench earlier today, and he's been giving specifics to his admin staff. But from our bargaining side, we give like the article numbers, what we're working on. The teachers have the initial proposals with all of the articles and what we're working on. So in our updates, we give every article, what we've been working on, what has been agreed upon, what has not been agreed upon, what has been sitting for 8 months, what has, what hasn't been brought up yet that we still have. So yes, we do bargaining updates to all of our members, and that goes to their personal home email.
Okay, that was the first one. And then my other one was, and of course, I think Kim addressed that, unfortunately, the large sum of money that's coming in, it's the same in my business, it can only be used for certain things. And if Kim, as the treasurer, I wanted everybody to know that so that you can take that back. If we spend $1 on something that isn't, then the government comes in and says, we'll take that back. Mm-hmm. So it's Kim's responsibility to make sure that we follow what
the president and the governor wants us to spend it on. So I wanted to clarify that up.
Well,
And then-
could I clarify with that?
Yeah.
So that is not the exact information that we've been given from the state or from other places, that they talk a lot about the learning loss, and the learning loss comes with stuff. It doesn't just come with a curriculum. And we have been told, and if I misrepresented in any way, I will double check my facts. But I have been told that it absolutely can be used for salary and benefits, part of it for the learning loss.
Okay, I'll double.
So I will double check my resources also, and if it was misrepresented to me, I will definitely check on that and get it clarified. But I've been told that absolutely it can for the learning loss.
If you're adding staff, you can supplement, you can supplant or supplement that. But when we're looking at keeping in line and getting in line, we don't want to add staff for 1 or 2 years and then happen to cut more.
I think that is what I'm under the impression, and I will double check that. I was under the impression we was allowed to use it for like the tutoring system that we're using, and those were benefits and wages. But I will check on that. But again, we don't want to reduce staff then and say, okay, you're good for a year, but then you have to go. But I will double check with that, because I am curious.
Many districts have also rehired staff that have been on a reduction in force, so they can use those teachers to also implement interventions and different things like that. We've lost a handful of intervention specialists the last 2 years. There's quite a few ways that it can still be used, and I know there's limitations to that, there's guidelines for that, but other districts have been very creative in using the money and keeping it for the student and the learning loss.
Can't read my writing. Of course, I think we addressed that. We're trying to get with House Bill 376 and 305, where we're trying to get into that budget range with our class. And if you do any research on that, which I have done a lot, we have to get to that classroom size. Unfortunately, we have to go back to our senators and representatives, because we don't have any control over that. And it goes in here what the state wants us to be at. If we aren't at those rates, then they just reduce our funding. So we're not completely at the rate that they want us to be in House Bill 376 and 305, but we are getting a little closer. And I'm hoping that we don't lose any more students, and that we'll be able to retain the staff that we have now. But it is a guide that we have to get there. Of course, they keep tabling it and non-tabling, but one of the things that is never removed out of any of the new House bills or Senate bills is the staff ratios. And I don't want to quote exactly, but I think it's 1 to 27, and for the younger grades, 1 to 20. So if you want to just kind of research that and maybe use that basic line, but I think we are still way under that. If we're not, I want to double check my numbers. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I know that that's the state recommendation, and that's from my understanding that our total staff has been averaged in with our total students. So our support staff, such as intervention specialists, title teachers, LSPs, nurses, and if I forgot anybody, I apologize. Those teachers are averaged in to our class sizes to show that our class sizes are very low, which they are not. Those are not regular.
No, we're not allowed to add those.
Okay, because we're not 14 to 1. I mean, I don't know what class really has 14.
That's a school average. School. 14, that's a school average.
Right, that's what I'm talking about, the school average.
Right, no.
So that's not.
That doesn't include nurses or
speech. So what I'm getting,
But that does include intervention specialists with the board.
It does.
Okay, so those don't have classrooms. So our intervention teachers are kind of. It's just, it's true, but it's misrepresented, because those intervention teachers and title teachers don't have a homeroom.
Right, and they don't.
Okay, so that's not a classroom size, when they're also averaged in. It's just, it's true, but it's misleading to the public,
Well,
because
it's the number that she just quoted, I think, was a school average. But what I looked at, because I went back and did, and I apologize to the board, this is all my little notes here. So I looked at each individual grade, like how many students Mrs. Joe had, Mrs. Johns had, Mrs. Sam had, and I was averaging that we were still under, and that we're a little closer, but we're not. I think we're, and I'm going back and I don't have it exactly, but I think our goal is to get 1 to 20 in the primary grades and 1 to 18, of course, for kindergarten. But then it just kind of keeps,
and
unfortunately, it keeps climbing.
yeah, we're at 1 to 18 and 1 to 19 in kindergarten now.
But so that's kind of what. But I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that.
Thank you, I
that's
appreciate
what
that.
some of the reductions is. But I wanted to address all your points that you made
Thank you
here,
very much.
and I will do some more research. I want to be, like I said, I'm new to the board, and I know that I appreciate them picking me to come on this board, but I want to be fair to not only the school and the community, but I also want to be fair to the teachers, because we don't want to continue, or I don't, and we'll speak for the rest, want to continue, and I feel that's to keep doing a reduction of staff. We want to get it a stabilization and then move forward, so that every year you're not thinking, okay, who's next? And I know that's a fear. And so we're trying to figure, since I've been working with the board since February, I noticed they're trying to come up with little ideas to save money in certain areas. And unfortunately, one of them was a building closure, but I think that will be a benefit in the long run. And the main objective is happy teachers, happy students, happy everybody, happy community. And so I'm just as excited if the board, if the negotiations go the positive way and everybody's happy. I have a lot of teacher friends, and I have a lot of people in the community. I'm rooting for everybody to come to a complete basis. I will do some more research. I'm open, if anybody finds out information I don't know, bring it to me. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
The question to add to that, I know with the budget, the biggest thing that Mrs. Beckley has told almost at every meeting is our open enrollment numbers, that we have so many more students going out than coming in. And I don't think something that the teachers have heard is, what are we as a collaborative team between administrators and teachers? What is the plan to get our Claymont Mustangs back? When we're losing, our budget is out of proportion because we have lost so many kids who are being pulled to neighboring schools. We used to have more kids coming to Claymont.
Absolutely.
Because we were the school to be. I have been here for a long time.
And that's one of the things.
But I haven't heard anything about what that is, and maybe that's another collaborative
that's some
process.
of the things that somebody brought, the Mustang Pride, the little things that we're doing in the community, and I'm hoping we become a positive. I think we become financially stable. It is a business. We need to be financially stable so that the community knows that we are a financial institution and we're financially stable. I also believe that positive image in the community. I think, the previous, contract negotiation, that's a negative on us, and we need to come to a good positive community where people want to be in Claymont. I love the Claymont School District. I've been here my whole life, and I truly love the district. And we need to bring that, I don't like to say this, but I've said this a lot to the board, we need to be cheerleaders, and that includes, not only us, but of course the staff, and I know everybody is, but just continue the positive, approach. I love the Mustang Pride page. I love the fact that some people in the community, and Mr. Baldwin, they came up with the Mustang Media page where people that weren't able to get to games, where it was a big positive. And I think as somebody in the community, I think we're going in the right direction. I think we have a wonderful staff. I think we got wonderful administrators. And I hope you know, you hate to focus a lot on the that we're taking a little bit of pride and interest in, not only in our school, but in our community. I mean, I'm an old student before sometimes there was even girls' sports. But I go back all the way to Ron, when she came here, her locker room was terrible. It was terrible when she came, and it was the same locker room. Girls' sports, when we did come into play, we had one toilet. And that was the same locker room they have today. So I think this is a big positive, not only for our girl athletes, but our whole community. And so I rambled long enough. Thank you.
And just to follow up, Mrs. Lloyd, the superintendent did send out surveys for the open enrolled people that left, and we only got about 20 back. And most of them was stating that the mom had went to that school, so they wanted their child to go to that school. But we are trying and hopefully get that numbers back. And I'll echo what Mrs. Granison said. I've lived in this community my whole life. The only time I was away from here is when I was in Vietnam for 2 years. And this is my community. And I care about this, and I care about the teachers. I care about Oak City, all of our staff. But it's just, we have to do what's best for our district and our kids. And I appreciate you giving that update, and thank you. And this board is always open to the public participation. Just let the superintendent know, and then we can go from there. The only other thing I would like to do is to congratulate our senior class, 2021. This class has endured so much, just like the teachers and our janitors and everybody during this virus. They missed out so much in their junior year, and now we are coming back a little bit. We did have a prom for that, and I think the kids really enjoyed that. Now we're coming to graduation, but we've got to give kudos to our staff and kudos to all of our seniors for hanging in there. It's been a trying time for them. It's been a trying time for me. It's been a trying time for this board and everyone. So kudos to our seniors. And I will probably say something at graduation for them coming up. But they've endured so much. And hopefully now that we're turning the corner a little bit, that they can move on with their next deal for their lives and their future. So I don't have anything else under new business. Mrs. Granison, thank you for bringing up the questions that you had. Anybody else have anything to?
I will just bring up, I know this is kind of ahead of the game, but I just have been doing a lot of research on boards and things like that in regards to masks for next school year. So I know this is a little premature, but I would just like to have that discussion, or I don't know where we'll go about making that optional, you know, for kids next year. All of our, you know, our teachers have been vaccinated that wanted the vaccine. All our high-risk people are vaccinated. So I just think maybe at some point, you know, this summer or something, we can maybe start having that discussion, or, you know, your administrators can have that discussion. But that's something that's just close to me about maybe making an option for masks next school year.
Hopefully by July the 4th, we will turn this corner. Hopefully that we don't have to wear these.
Maybe Memorial Day.
Yeah, could be. Anything else for the good of the board and the district? Okay. Our next regular meeting is June 28th at 5:30 here at the administrative building. If there's nothing else, I entertain a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second? Roll call.
Mrs. Brook?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mr. Beckwith?
Yes.
Mrs. Grandison? Yes. And Mr. Miles?
Motion carries 804. Thank you.